Hello, everybody. I'd like to thank you for uh, watching my presentation. I would like to call this Project Mars Rover. So, who am I? As I said before, my name is Jayden Clayton. I am currently 16 years old. I attend Northview High School, and as of 2021, and as of the next school year, I will be a junior. Some of my future goals after high school are to graduate college with an engineering degree, specifically in aerospace with a potential computer science minor. Some of the colleges I would like to attend include Georgia Tech, the University of Notre Dame, as well as MIT and others. Becoming an aerospace engineer for me would just is a goal that I've had for a relatively long time, and I find this program to be another step up in my journey to becoming who I want to be. Some of the companies I would appreciate working for will include Delta, Boeing, as well as Lockheed Martin. Some facts about me are I've been to 14 states in the United States. Um, I play football, basketball, as well as I've been in robotics before, mainly with using my hands and doing hardware work on the robots themselves. So, what do we do in camp? For the first week, we started off by making the base frame, as you know, taking the PVC and putting it together in order to make the main chassis for the robot, as well as gluing them together. We also worked on wiring for the motor controller, as you can see in the top right. We also worked with electronics. We learned how to use the multimeter, the nano boards, as well as how to hook up the 12-volt battery and run power through. We worked with the Arduino software in order to help code our software into our Nano so that we could properly use the robot. As you can see in the bottom right, um, there's the first day robot, or not the first day, excuse me, robot in the middle of the first week at the time before the wires were installed. So by week two, we began to drive our rovers as well as troubleshoot any remaining problems. We also began our modifications to add to our Mars rover. So when I was thinking of my modification, I thought of what is something out there that would just be an imperative to the survival of the Mars rover, because on Mars there is limited resources, if many, which there are not many, excuse me. So I thought of what type of renewable energy could I use? Well, geothermal, you would have to dig into the earth. That wouldn't be very plausible. Wind energy, there is not enough wind on Mars to create something like that and have it as working. However, with the solar panel, the sun is always out. So I believe that that would be the best modification for the type of situation that the Mars rover would be involved in during a mission or an expedition on the planet. So within the third week, which was our last week, we finished up our troubleshooting of our robot and the code as well. There were some problems that I had encountered during the program, which included, even in the beginning, putting the frames together properly, which was a relatively easy fix, as well as proper coding of the nano, which we also got resolved. However, my greatest problem was overheating. On the tower of the motor control was getting extremely hot to the touch, and we had no idea why for a period of time. However, that problem was resolved when we took time to look at the connections of the motors. As you can see in the bottom left here, the metal wiring was actually touching off on the motors rather than the pins leading into the motors. So it was backfiring some of the power that was leading to not only one side being unable to move, but also the overheating of the motor control, which actually caused me to have to replace my motor control on 2 occasions. So over the course of this 3-week program, I learned numerous things, such as how to code and creating a Mars rover and operating it, and so much more. When I started off at first with this program and first saw the parts, I was like, how are we going to turn this into a Mars rover? How are we going to take a couple of pieces and turn it into something that works? And that really and that was one of the things that sparked my interest when I first found this program and thought about the possibilities of what we may be doing in this program, was a huge factor to drawing me into this, and which I'm very glad that I found this program because it was very fun and very informative in more ways than one. I'm especially grateful for my teachers, Mr. Dunstan, Mr. Evan, Dr. Kelly for helping um, me through my ups and downs of this project, such as my overheating issue, my wiring, my coding. in order to make a working robot that could do from that, or not only get from point A to point B, but also do other tasks. I am also very thankful for the Lockheed Martin, the Georgia Space Grant, and the Aerospace Systems Design Lab, excuse me, for their sponsorship of this program. Because without their sponsorship, this program would not be here. And once again, just I'd like to thank all of you for this opportunity that not many kids would have been able to get, especially in these times.
All right, so first question coming in. Parth wants to know what robotics platforms have you worked on before?
So at my school, we have another robot. We have it's it's somewhat like the Mars rover, but rather its main purpose is to use a claw, which, as a matter of fact, was one of my first ideas for modification. However, due to the coronavirus, I was unable to get the parts in time. But basically, during that time, I would work with my hands on hardware of the robot in order to put it together. And to answer Parth's question, the robot platform was it's really hard to explain actually because it does numerous processes, but it was for a fair at the time as well.
Great. The Lori wants to know, do you have any other modification plans that you want to make to your robot in the future?
I have a few modification plans. Like I said before, this was very intriguing to me seeing these pieces come together to make something that works. So later after this program, I want to make this into a fully functioning Mars rover in the sense of how can I take what I have now and make it so that it's fully autonomous and independent and does not need, and does not need external factors, too many external factors to help it out. So for example, one of the things I already have implemented is the solar panel. It's able to recharge itself without having to connect to a battery. Some other things I would like to add would be parts to help with exploration, such as a shovel, or as I said before, a claw, as well as some physical properties to the chassis itself. For example, the suspension was kind of wonky when I first started building the robot, but again, unfortunately, COVID-19 took away some of those factors that I could have used to modify my robot. But
Great.
definitely in the future, I would love to modify this robot way further than what it is now.
Yeah. So Chris wanted to know, have you started experimenting with any autonomous behavior in your software code?
I have not, but it is most definitely something that I want to get into. This program has showed me that in the beginning of this program, I was a little bit worried about code, about having to look at all these different numbers and all these different codes and lines of code and think about how they work together. And that was somewhat worrying for me in the beginning. So, but now after being here for 3 weeks and seeing how the code comes together and works with the robot in order to make what it is now, it's again very intriguing to me. And someday I would like to learn how to code properly, and especially with autonomous code, because someday I would like to make my own drone, as a matter of fact.
Great. Well, it looks like you certainly have a good platform to get started there.
Thank you.
So, Jayden.